We have a man here that we've been wanting to talk to, I feel like, all season. A.Q. Shipley, one of the best offensive line minds out there right now. Analyst, Pat McAfee Show, Cardinals Radio.
Pride of Penn State.
Yeah,
first team All-American.
Come on, keep going.
Let's go. Two-time Big Ten.
Hey, there we go.
Best offensive lineman in the Big Ten.
Yeah,
right?
Here we go.
Dude, the man, the myth. Let's go.
Thank you, guys.
The man, the mountain. Everybody says the man, the myth, the legend, but you're the mountain.
I'm as wide as I am tall. I'm not sure I'm quite a mountain. Kind of just a refrigerator anymore. That's where I'm at.
No, I've been excited to talk to you here for a couple of years now, harassing your Instagram DMs because your passion for offensive line play. Like most people I have a problem when I watch the game. I watch the ball, and everyone tells me these guys have been breaking down the game a lot longer than I have. I can't help. I go to training camp. I'm watching the wide receiver DBs one-on-ones. I can never get over that.
We're watching the linemen one-on-ones.
And you have shown me the light of just really embracing and loving what great offensive line play looks like. Because it took a while for the Bears to finally get there this year.
It took a while for most teams to kind of get there. I think there's been a thirst for offensive line play for a while. And when you look at the Chicago Bears and what they've done in just one offseason by improving 3 positions, right? Like they had their tackles, and I still think they can improve their left tackle position, right? And if you do that, you might have the best offensive line in the league, hands down. It's already in the top 5, in my opinion. And, I think what they've done and what they've brought in and what Ben Johnson does to utilize them, put them in the right position. I always say work smarter, not harder. I played in systems where you got to work harder to make things happen, right? And when you watch Shanahan, when you watch McVay, when you watch Ben Johnson, right? I think all of those guys do such a good job at eye candy, motion, shifts, all the different things, and all you're doing is just setting up blocks for your big boys up front.
Who is your favorite lineman up front for the Chicago Bears?
Darnell Wright, hands down. And if you go back, we did the Pat McAfee Show Draft Spectacular the year that he gets drafted. And I said when he got drafted, I said he's by far my favorite lineman in this draft. It went Jalen Carter and him back-to-back picks, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, the best 2 linemen in this draft just got picked. And first year, he wasn't looked at like, oh, that was a great pick, right? And then second year, oh, okay, he's gotten better, but this year he came into his own and became an absolute animal. And I think from the minute I started watching them go on a run this year, I was like, okay, it's because of that guy. I'm watching. I think it started with that Cincinnati game. Remember that monster play?
Yeah.
I think he was going against Shamar Stewart.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he buries him down, finishes on top.
Took him for a ride.
Took him for a ride, right?
Yeah.
And that play right there just catapulted him into stardom.
He had a lot of blocks like that this season. Brian Burns throws him down. Like he goes up, throws him down, no problem. Like, what is that? The strength just to do that, and the technique, I imagine, as well. Can you just describe like what he's doing in those situations?
Listen, they don't make guys like that at that position. Everybody thinks it's so easy to go get this next tackle, and we watch it over and over again. Chicago's been trying to find their left tackle. It's tough, right? And I think you watch all these guys, they get drafted, and it's like, okay, we got him. Well, no, you don't got him. There's only a handful of guys. In my opinion, when you look around the league, it's Penei Sewell, it's Darnell Wright, it's Lane Johnson, Tristan Wirfs, it's Trent Williams, right? I think it's Garrett Bowles, I think, an absolute stud. But, like, those guys are different, right? Like, there's levels to this, and I don't think people realize that. So, in Darnell Wright's case specifically, if you're drafted in the top 10, you're showing people that you got something different than everybody. And he's massive, he's athletic, he's strong, he's got great technique. It's now about just putting it together at the NFL level.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that because we saw I thought he just became absolutely dominant in the run game and maybe still has room for growth as a pass protector. What do you think's the next step for him? You already got him really high. I mean, he was a second-team All-Pro this year. You said he should have been a first-team All-Pro.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think you're right. I think he still has a lot of growth in the pass game. I think he doesn't throw his hands as well as I'd like to see at this point. He's kind of a reach and grab guy. He plays real long, so it plays to his advantage, and he can still win 95% of those reps, right? But when you go against Seattle on the road, when you're a half a tick late off the snap, one thing you got to do is when you watch Trent Williams is always making contact, fully extended, arms out, right? A lot of times when you watch Darnell Wright, it's this, and it's that bear hug reach, and he gets away with it, right? But the one thing you always have to watch is against an elite rusher on the road, silent count, will that work?
Well, obviously, Drew Dalman, I mean, we've been begging for a center here in Chicago for years. They've ran through some, and it's just has not worked, and Drew Dalman comes in and just felt like him and Caleb Williams really found that rapport. What did you see from Drew this year to help kind of lead the way in a lot of ways from this team going from 68 sacks to 24 sacks? Because not all sacks are on the offensive line.
I like that you know that.
And that's honestly, now learning, being in the industry, to be honest with you, like, I'm starting to learn how the meat gets made a little bit differently, and hearing some things behind the scenes. And, like, Caleb gets sacked 7 times against the Houston Texans last year. A fan is going to think all of those are on the offensive line. The reality is a good portion of those are on the quarterback at times. And so now I'm starting to understand a little bit more of those. And the center position to me is so important to getting the quarterback on the same page to eliminate those mistakes.
Yeah, I agree. I think Drew Dalman, bringing him in this year, obviously highest paid center, I think, in this free agency class, right? I think $17 million a year or whatever it was. They go out, they identify their guy, and I thought it was a smart move. The one negative to Drew, a little lighter, right? He comes from that Atlanta Falcons where they run the wide zone, all the different things. And I think early in the season, they weren't running an offense that catered to his needs, but very specific to whenever Philadelphia kind of switched their whole scheme to fit to Jason Kelce. Now all of a sudden this team took off offensively because first couple weeks of the season, it did not look great. Everybody was like, what is going on? I mean, we thought Ben Johnson was going to come in. This was going to be smooth. It was going to be perfect. And it wasn't right away, right? And then I think the bye week happened. They switched some things up scheme-wise and now let Drew Dalman do what he does best, use his athleticism, get him going, get him to the second level. And all of a sudden, they become a much better football team, and it starts there. And it also then opens up for the play action because he's not built to sit there in 5-down protection and drop back pass 30 times a game, right? So you got to find a way to make it easy on your guys up front, alleviate some of their stressors, and Drew Dalman is a guy that you might have to game plan around a little bit because of that. But what he does really well, and you should build around
his ability. I enjoyed talking to Drew this year about everything he's done with Caleb Williams, but like those whirly bird blocks that he's pulled off a couple times, and he was telling me like sometimes they're called, but it's based on what the defense is doing and whether or not I actually pull out of there and go after the edge defender. How difficult are those? You played the game. You've taught the game. Like, how difficult is the execution of a whirly bird block?
It's very difficult because they get on you much faster than you would think, right? Like, 'cause I'm not sure if you guys understand the way that works. So as that play is called, the first lineman who's uncovered to the play side. So if you're running a naked right, that's where the whole offensive line's going right, and then the quarterback rolls out left, right? The first lineman from center to the right who's uncovered is the guy who's going to do the whirly bird. So not only do you have to be able to perform the block, you got to be on the same page with your guard. It might happen fast because if I have a front side nose or a front side shade, then now my guard's doing the whirly bird. But if I'm the guy who now my guard has a 3 technique, outside shoulder D-tackle, and the guy that I'm working to, there's nobody there, then I do the whirly bird, right? So there's communication aspect, there's seeing it and being on the same page with your guys, and then all of a sudden, then you got to execute the block with Danielle Hunter coming off the edge. That's the nightmare, right? Because on the interior, if you're a center or guard, you're on your guy fast. It happens fast, right? You're not used to spinning, and all of a sudden Nick Bosa's in your face with a 9-yard head start. So, to answer your point, there's multitude of things that have to go into that block, but executing it is obviously the hardest thing.
Yeah, it always blows my mind how much is really going in, play to play, all the different things. One thing we learned during the season is that Ben Johnson himself is the one who installs the run game. It's not the O-line coach, it's not the run game coordinator. It is the head coach of the team installing the run game. And then the other thing that they make clear from training camp on is that they teach the whole offense the offense. Like, it doesn't, you have to know all 11 guys are doing. It's not like they're just teaching the wide receivers in this room and the O-line in this room. Everybody's got to know the whole thing. How much do you think the head coach installing the run game and having all of them on the same page in sync comes through on game day and shows on the film?
Well, you can tell. I mean, this is his operation, and you can tell, and you can see it from start to finish. I always go back to with him, with McVay. You can draw a play up on paper, right? But bringing it to life looks different in everybody's eyes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So as I see a play drawn up on paper versus how you see a play drawn up on paper may look entirely different. Well, if the head coach has a vision and this is how it's going to be and everyone hears it from his mouth, then you got a much better chance at everybody being on the same page, right? There's so many times you go into these games, like, oh, we were on two different pages. It's like, well, why were you on two different pages? Probably because it got lost somewhere in translation between offensive install to offensive meeting, now to offensive line room, or whatever it may be, right? And so when the head coach has his fingerprint on everything, those details are a lot harder to slip through those cracks.
So one of the things he did this year that I found fascinating, everybody sees Caleb Williams highlights, but he puts up offensive lineman highlights, not only like in the offensive meeting rooms, but in front of the full team meeting. This is part of the Ben Johnson process. Like, he wants to see he wants everyone to see what the big boys are doing, giving them credit. What do you think of that?
I love it. I love everything about it. Because listen, we're the forgotten man, right? We're the guys that live in anonymity, right? Like, nobody wants to hear their name called on game day as an O-lineman, because the only time it's getting called is when you're giving up a sack, right? Or you're giving up a pressure, whatever it may be. You missed a block. So whenever you can come in on Monday and get a little bit of credit, because we're the guys that are just hanging out in the mud, right? Like, that's what we are, and we know that, right? And we're okay with that. But when you can come in and show the rest of the group, hey, listen, let's show these guys some appreciation right now too. Cliff Kingsbury used to do that too. Every once in a while, he'd find 2 or 3 extra effort blocks. And when I played for him in 2019, he was big on coming in on Monday and, making sure, showing J.R. Sweezy 15 yards downfield, finishing on top of somebody, whatever it was, right? And those things go a long way, not only for the confidence of your group up front, but for the whole entire offense and the team.
I was very excited for Ozzie Trapillo coming into the season. I got a little heat for it because I got ahead of my skis. I thought he'd be the starting left tackle coming out of camp. The coaching staff said, slow down, and they built him up, and then he got in there. And I know he took a really tough injury, and we can get to that, but I'm just curious, first, what you saw from Ozzie Trapillo in the time that he was the starter at left tackle.
Yeah, big guy, obviously plays left tackle, can run. I mean, I know there were some definite highlight blocks out of him this year. I just think that left tackle position as a whole never came to fruition the way that they wanted it to, right? I think whenever you got him, and what's the Canadian name?
Theo
Benedict.
And they started with Braxton Jones, remember? Braxton Jones
started with him,
right?
So they've been trying to fit that into the peg, right? And they haven't quite found that yet. Now, having said that, they got 4 dogs, and you can always hide one, right? And I think that's the biggest key that you got to understand, right? It just isn't as easy to hide when it's left tackle. And then you got to move Tooney out there for the playoff game, right? And it's like, yeah, he does fine, but he'd be so much better inside, right? Like, you got to find that guy to pair him, because the thing that I actually loved this year was the people you play next to make your game better. If I'm A.Q. Shipley playing center with 2 guards who are below average football guards, and maybe they're backups or thirds, whatever it may be, then I'm not going to look as good, right? But if I got one of my best years in Arizona was when I got Mike Iupati to my left and Alex Boone to my right. It's like, okay, now we can now we can go beat some people up.
Yeah. So that being said, with the left tackle spot, let me throw 4 options at you and try to figure this left tackle spot out for next year. What do? Do you move Joe Tooney out at left tackle?
Worst decision.
Worst decision.
X that right there.
Off the board.
Okay.
Do you move Darnell Wright to left tackle?
So that is a move that probably could work. That is a move that I don't want to work. That is a move, right? Like, I think now we've gotten to the point. They made that move on Tristan Wirfs after the first year, right? Like, it was like, okay, cool, you're right tackle. Let's move you to left after 1 year. Now Darnell's been in this system, 3 years now?
Yeah, 3 years.
Right? So 3. Now you've gotten used. And, oh, by the way, you just came off your best year. You just came off an all-pro year. Like, there's no chance I'm doing that.
Okay, so then the final 2.
Okay.
You either draft a rookie at 25, or you just bring in a veteran left tackle for 1 year and see where you're at a year from now when Ozzie can come back.
So for me, the answer is a veteran, and I will always choose the veteran over the rookie. Like, I will. Now,
so does Ben.
Yeah, and like, it's, you know what you're getting, right? And I think, like, probably the most overlooked move in the entire offseason, and it's easy to say that now because they're in the Super Bowl, is Morgan Moses going at right tackle for the New England Patriots. When that move happened, it's a vet minimum deal. Everybody's like, Morgan Moses, look, this guy's been in the league 14 years. It's like, yeah, he can still play. He can still play a lot better than somebody who's not used to throwing their hands and going against Daniil Hunter and J.J. Watt or T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett and whoever else. I mean, there's some freakazoids out on the edge, right? So do you want to go in there and trust in some guy that's used to playing against Middle Tennessee State, or do you want to trust a guy that's used to playing against all the dogs in the league, right? I would always take the veteran guy.
I know we have some Joe Thuney questions.
Yeah.
He's up for NFL Protector of the Year, but Jonah Jackson, I feel like he's kind of the forgotten man up front.
Which is crazy.
And he's had an outstanding year. He's got a lot of pancake blocks himself. Like,
Yes.
What did you see from him between Drew Dalman and Darnell Wright?
Yeah, so that I was going to go into that. I don't know why I didn't continue to keep going, probably because I felt like I was talking too much. But
We love it. We love it.
I think where I was going with that was the reason I look better next to the good guys was going back to the other side of the line, and that's Jonah Jackson looking incredible this year because he knows he's got a guy that if he sets him up on a deuce block, he's going to get washed 30 yards, right? When you know you just got to do a little bit to help your tackle out, or your tackle's going to do his job, and now all of a sudden you can go get that rib shot on the pass protection like we've seen Jonah Jackson do time and time again. And people also forget how good of a year he had when he played in Detroit before he signed the free agent. The reason he got paid out in L.A. was because of how good he played in Detroit, right? So he's a really good football player, and now all of a sudden you put him next to another good player again. You get him back out of L.A., you get him into Chicago, and Darnell Wright comes into his own, and all of a sudden Jonah's playing at an extremely high level again.
So this Protector of the Year award, first of all, long overdue.
Yep.
Let's give the O-linemen their love. Joe Thuney.
Finally.
What he's been doing in this league, we've been talking about it almost like, awards should be for this season, but it's almost like Joe Thuney deserves this for his career and what he's been. So we'll see if he wins it. I guess we'll find that out on Saturday, right? Or is it it's Thursday night. Yeah, Thursday night. What do you think about Thuney? And just, I've been raving about him since the day they traded for him. I just think he's one of the best linemen and guys in the league.
Yeah, I've said it time and time again this year that he is by far, he's not going to wow you with his strength. He's not going to wow you with his athleticism, but he's a football player, period. And he's the most consistent offensive lineman in the entire National Football League. You can look at his penalties or lack thereof. You can look at his starts. He's always playing through some type of injury. He's tough as nails, and he's a winner. That's what people don't look at far too little they look at is the fact that this guy's been in the league, 9 years? Yeah. And he's got 9 division titles? Like, what are we talking about? This is unbelievable. That's a stat that will never get touched ever again, right? Like, it is crazy to think. And, by the way, it's on 3 different teams. That's the most crazy stat of all time. But I think when you look at him, he's just a football player. He plays low. He plays with good technique. He always runs through contact. He's great in pass protection. He's great with his hands. He's cerebral. He's smart, right? Like, he's got every attribute you can want.
They always describe quarterbacks as multipliers, like having that great defensive end's a multiplier. But the Bears starting left guard, he's a multiplier too, isn't he?
Absolutely. Yeah, he's a dog. There's no question about that. And I think that was the best move that they made. The other guys are really good football players, and they had really good years. But the culture setter that you brought in at left guard was much more than just a football player. He was a guy that, very similar to when I went down to Tampa Bay and I saw the way that Tom Brady operated. That team was good when Tom Brady got there. I mean, they got Mike Evans, they got Godwin, they got Ryan Jensen, Tristan Wirfs. They got studs across the board, right? Really good defense. Sue, Vita Vea, right? All these things. They didn't know how to win. And this guy 12 comes in and all of a sudden changes the entire culture, and now all of a sudden everybody starts playing better than they're capable of. Well, that's Joe Thuney, right? Joe Thuney, forget what he does on the football field. He does more off the football field.
Obviously, the NFL is a league of trends, and the smartest football minds seem to be leaning towards 13 personnel quite a bit. Sean McVay.
You sound like Dan Orlovsky.
Yeah. Well, I'm
He wishes.
I'm pretending. Like offensive, like you're talking about with offensive line play. I'm pretending like I seem smarter, lined up to somebody that actually knows what they're talking about. So this is all jargon to me that I don't understand, but that's why we have you here. So, with 13 personnel, it's not just the O-linemen, the tight ends. Ben Johnson utilized 3 tight ends quite a bit this season.
Sure.
I want to isolate on Colston Loveland because I just am curious from your perspective how impressed you were with how he embraced not just catching the ball, but being a blocker and helping that offensive line.
He was unbelievable this year, and he wasn't early either. He was another guy that took a minute to get going, right? I think, he went through some rookie mistakes early. He went through trying to understand the difference between the college game and the NFL game, and Ben putting him in some blocking positions that he probably didn't have to do very much at Michigan. But when he does, and he puts his nose in there and gets going, he's a pretty good blocker, right? So for me, being a Penn State guy, I was all in on Tyler Warren early. I'm like, this guy's the guy. And then about halfway through the season, I'm like, oh, this Loveland guy's starting to really show up on tape, right? So I think when you look at how much he grew from week 1 till the end of the season, maybe the most improved player in the NFL when you watch him on film. Like, you watch him the first couple weeks, and then all of a sudden, when Chicago started to get that run game going, it was a lot off the counter game, and watching Colston Loveland come around, bypass the defensive end, and become the lead blocker out on a corner, and then all of a sudden you start getting him going in the pass game and running the slant, and then all of a sudden now he's running 7 routes and deep digs and seam balls. He's got every tool in his toolbox now. So I think what he is as a football player, but also what Ben Johnson and that staff did with him this year. I mean, he became, by the end of the year, he was a top 10 tight end in the league.
So I think we touched on the whole line, which is what we want to do. But right before you sat down, you did say that you think you're a Caleb believer now, potentially. What did you think about the year that Caleb Williams had?
He had a phenomenal year, and I think the more and more you watch him, the more and more that you just pick 5 plays a game and you're like, okay, there's no one else in the league that can do that. I think that's the biggest thing that you start to see. And some of the dumb plays early, I think, were just him playing backyard football like he's been accustomed to doing the last couple of years, and then all of a sudden Ben starts to rein him in and get him doing the right things. Even the ball that everybody wants to say was a dumb interception that he threw against Green Bay where no one was in the vicinity, I don't know if it's come out or not, but like as I watch that, I think that should have been a dig, and you can almost put that on the receiver, right? So like he got to, by the end, he started getting to a spot where he was throwing to spots on time, like, and doing things that the top 5 players in the league are doing, right? And I think you just take a look at some of the throws he made in the playoffs. I mean, that is storytelling stuff for the rest of time. I mean, the play that he makes, obviously, against the Rams, but even the week before, the rollout to the left on the sideline, like all the stuff that he's able to do. You know, and it's funny because I'm real tight with Clyde Christensen, and Clyde Christensen is really tight with Ben Johnson. Clyde Christensen, longtime quarterback coach in the NFL, Coach Brady, Coach Manning, Coach Luck, talked to Ben Johnson, and like by the end, like he couldn't stop talking about what Ben was telling him about Caleb.
That's really interesting. And so my final thing is that you've given us so much, and you were on with our PHNX bros right before this, so we can't thank you enough for the time you've given this network. But I just wanted to ask you, in that regard, Caleb looks up to Tom Brady in a big way. And you finished your career on a strong note, winning a Super Bowl. That was, to me, an unbelievable, like Tom Brady cementing his greatness, was walking into Tampa Bay 1 year in and winning a Super Bowl, blowing out the Chiefs. So I'm just curious, when people ask you, give me one Tom Brady story, and what is that story that you give them?
Yeah, so this is the one. I mean, ultimately playing with him a couple times. I mean, I could have a million stories. I could tell you the stories about how he hates to let his hands get touched by offensive linemen's sweat, so every center's got to stuff like 4 towels in between their gooch and their pants, you know, so no sweat touches his hands. And there's all these million different stories I could tell you on the field. But for me, it goes back to every single Saturday throughout the season, right? We would go through, you know, basically the entire pass game where Blaine Gabbert, who was the backup quarterback, would stand up. And he would go down the pass game, and he would say, okay, you know, we got this alert versus this, we got this alert versus that, we got all this stuff, right? And Tom was always the guy that sat in the back of the room, just kind of paid attention, nodded, but Blaine was the one that was presenting it. And so we go into that final week, we're getting ready to play Kansas City, and I think he's probably said this a time or two, but he talks about how he had the answers to the test. And he did. He watched so much film leading up to this game that he had everything. And so that Saturday before, he stands up. He's like, I got this today. Didn't do it all year. It was Blaine Gabbert, present. He's like, I got this today. And so literally he's like, boom, verse cover 2, we're going to do this. Verse cover 3, we're going to do this. Hey, if they go 0, we're going to check to this, and we got this. And it was like, oh, okay. We're about to win this game.
That's
like awesome. He had, and if you watch the game, he was one step ahead of Spags the whole game. The whole game.
Wow,
it's crazy to watch.
It's amazing.
That's why he's the GOAT.
He let the honey badger know about it too.
Oh yeah, he let everybody know.
That's fantastic. Hey, we've been looking forward to this conversation for a long time. Thank you so much, A.Q. Shipley.
Appreciate you guys.
Really appreciate it.
This was really fun. So thanks for being here.
My brain hurts from how much smarter I got.
No.
Conversation.
I'm just a big dummy.